Instructor Jiang-Nan used his fighter privilege and directly took Luo Feng to the main city sector of Jiangnan City without buying a ticket. Jiangnan City was divided into the main city sector and the 8 great cities. The transportation between the main city sector and the 8 great cities is the train. Normal people have to buy a ticket 3 days in advance if they want to ride the train, and the price is very expensive. As for going from one headquarters city to another, the price is sky high. Normal people can't even afford it. So the 200 million citizens of Jiangnan City rarely have the chance to leave the headquarters city. Jiangnan headquarters city, main city sector. Luo Feng and Jiang-Nan walked side by side on the sidewalk. Luo Feng, do you feel the difference between the main city sector and our Yangzhou city? Jiang-Nan smiled as he pointed around. Luo Feng looked around and shook his head. Nothing much. I just feel that there are more people, more cars, and the road is wider. Everything else is normal. However, there was nothing special about this small scene. Jiang-Nan smiled. At first glance, there isn't much of a difference. You'll know the difference in a bit. Hello. Jiang-Nan turned on his phone. Jiang-Nan, how much longer until they arrive? The old man's face appeared on the phone screen. Uncle Bai, they'll arrive in 10 minutes, Jiang-Nan smiled. Okay, I've already invited the chief. When the time comes, don't make any mistakes, the white-haired old man said solemnly. Lord Supervisor? Even Jiang-Nan was shocked. While they were talking, Luo Feng already saw an extremely large area in front of him. Other than the silver-white walls that extended outwards, there was a tall, dark blue skyscraper. On this skyscraper there were 4 words that could be clearly seen from miles away. Dojo of Limits. This is the Dojo of Limits headquarters. Our Dojo of Limits headquarters in Jiangnan City, said Jiang-Nan. There sure are a lot of soldiers. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. Outside the walls of the Dojo of Limits headquarters, there were people armed with real guns standing guard. The entire Dojo of Limits headquarters gave off the feeling that it was a monster armed to the teeth. The main gate of the Dojo of Limits headquarters was a full 100 meters wide. Rows of soldiers looked around. These are the soldiers of our Dojo of Limits, Jiang-Nan smiled as he spoke. Our Dojo of Limits has the right to set up our own security force. Let's go in. Jiang-Nan brought Luo Feng towards the main gate. Let them pass. At the entrance, a one-armed man with a scar on his face waved his hand. Immediately all the soldiers took a step back. That orderly and uniform aura made Luo Feng hold his breath. The one-armed man glanced at Jiang-Nan with a smile. Old Jiang, it's been a while since I last came to the headquarters. Let's have a few drinks later. All right. Jiang-Nan smiled and nodded. At the same time he looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng, this is your senior, call him Uncle Lu. Uncle Lu, Luo Feng respectfully yelled. He could feel that this one-armed man was an extremely powerful fighter. Not bad, young man. The one-armed man smiled and nodded. I don't have time to talk to you. Let's talk later. Uncle Bai is waiting for me inside. Jiang-Nan immediately brought Luo Feng into the courtyard of the Dojo of Limits headquarters. This huge courtyard was like a large park. Little bridges, fake mountains and flower beds could be seen everywhere. There was also an endless stream of people coming and going in the courtyard. Every single one of them gave Luo Feng a special feeling. As Jiang-Nan and Luo Feng walked on the road, he couldn't help but to sigh. The one you just called Uncle Lu was a good brother who went through life and death situations with me. We've been through life and death situations with each other. His broken arm was broken by an ape-type monster, a black-furred iron ape. Luo Feng listened quietly. The fighters of the Limit Hall are very united. Jiang-Nan pointed at the skyscraper. Look, that's the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits in Jiangnan City. Almost everyone who goes in and out of that building is a martial artist. Almost all fighters? Luo Feng was shocked. He could vaguely see the silhouettes of people through the glass on the first floor of the skyscraper. There were probably more than 100 people inside. Jiangnan City has a total of 200 million people. How could our Dojo of Limits have so few fighters? Jiang-Nan laughed. Most of the people on the first floor are drinking and chatting. The second floor to the 9th floor of the headquarters building was the place where warrior rank warriors often trained and stayed. The 10th floor to the 19th floor is where the warlord level fighters stay. As for the 20th floor and up, that's where the group meetings are held. Luo Feng was confused and asked, Instructor, fighters are split into the warrior level and the warlord level? Fighters are split into the warrior level, the warlord level and the extremely rare Wargod level. Jiang-Nan explained softly, most of the warriors are in the warrior level. Many fighters stay in the warrior level for their entire lives. The warrior level is split into beginner warrior, intermediate warrior and advanced warrior. Most of the fighters who just passed the exam are considered beginner warrior level. Luo Feng, your current strength is considered intermediate warrior level, Jiang-Nan said. Luo Feng nodded. Looks like his strength is still at the bottom of the fighters. Warrior level warriors can usually be killed with firearms. But warlord level fighters can't be killed with hot weapons. Jiang-Nan sighed. For example, if you use a heavy machine gun to shoot at a warlord, the warlord can easily dodge it with his reaction speed and speed. Therefore, warlord level martial artists are definitely considered outstanding elites among martial artists. Even though you're talented, you're still young, so you can only be considered a rookie, Jiang-Nan laughed. Luo Feng could only rub his head. Of course Luo Feng knew about the powerful fighters among fighters. For example, the powerful fighter who was able to split the golden eagle in half with one blade. Even if Luo Feng used his spiritual force, he probably wouldn't even be able to harm a hair on that fighter's head. Above the warlord level is the Wargod level. Jiang Yan's eyes were filled with admiration. That's truly a war god. Each of them can easily walk through a rain of bullets, move as fast as lightning, and have unbelievable reaction speeds. Each of them can destroy a residential building with a single punch or kick. Wargod. That's a war god. Luo Feng held his breath as he listened. Warrior level? Warlord level? Wargod level. His current strength was only at the level of a mid-level warrior. Perhaps after using telekinesis, his strength would be much stronger, and he might even be able to step into the warlord level. Instructor, is there anything above the wargod level? Asked Luo Feng. Yes. Jiang Yan smiled and nodded. There are existences above the wargod level. Each of them has the power to destroy the world. Even a country would have to be cautious when facing such a powerhouse. However, there are far too few of them. Even our Huaxia government only has 2 or 3 such invincible experts. Luo Feng was shocked. Above the wargod level, even China, one of the 5 great countries, only has 2 or 3 under their government. That's why fighters all over the world divide fighters into the warrior level, and the wargod level. Jiang Yan explained, of course the world's standard for judging strength. In fact, it wasn't based on your strength, speed, or reflexes. Instead, it will be based on your achievements. Battle records? Luo Feng asked curiously. Yeah, even though your body fitness level should have reached the intermediate warrior level. However, after you become a fighter, your fighter status will still be at the beginner warrior level. Once you kill enough monsters that are strong enough and meet the requirements of an intermediate warrior, you'll be able to become one. Then you'll only be an intermediate warrior level. Jiang Yan sighed. After all, some people have good body fitness level, some have good blade techniques, and some know all sorts of tricks. The only way to judge a person's strength is through their achievements. Yeah. Even if there's a huge difference in body fitness level, a person with a weaker fitness level can still kill a person with a stronger fitness level. Work hard and become a warlord level fighter. Then you'll be the pride of Yangzhou City, laughed Jiang Yan. Brother Yan Luo, who came to find me last time, is a warlord level fighter. Oh, Luo Feng slightly nodded. If I use my spiritual force, just how strong will I be? Will I be able to match the warlord level? I'll have to wait until later to find out. Luo Feng and Jiang Yan chatted along the way and quickly arrived at a 3-story villa. This villa took up quite a bit of space. On the balcony of the 2nd floor, an old man with white hair yelled, Jiang Yan, hurry up and come up. Let's go, follow me. Jiang Yan brought Luo Feng and quickly entered the villa. 50 million really isn't much, said Jiang Yan quietly. From what I see, the reason why the chief values you is because you're young. She was only 18 years old. He believes that you have the potential to become a war god in the future. That's why I'm investing 50 million today to help you. Uncle Bai laughed. However, Luo Feng, don't get careless. Your talent isn't bad, but it's too hard to become a war god. The supervisor only thinks that you have a glimmer of hope, a possibility. Just because of a glimmer of hope, he's investing 50 million to help me, sighed Luo Feng. The Dojo of Limits rules were very strict. According to the internal rules, Luo Feng could only invest 50 million for the 3 instruction manuals. Even the supervisor couldn't change the rules. He could only take out money from his own pocket on top of the 50 million. And when a fighter is just starting to develop, a good instruction manual is extremely useful. Don't even think about it, Luo Feng. The fact that the supervisor treats you differently is good for you and not bad at all. The supervisor's network is extremely vast. The army, the circle of wargod level fighters, the government, all the big families. The supervisor has his own network. He's the person at the top of Jiangnan City, a giant level figure. Jiang Yan couldn't help but to exclaim. It's a good thing that the supervisor has a good impression of him, so why think so much? Since he's helping him, he'll just return the favor in the future. Luo Feng, when are you preparing to move? To the fighter sector in Yangzhou City? Or from the main city sector? Asked Jiang Yan. Luo Feng slightly hesitated. Almost all of his parents' friends are in Yangzhou City. And almost all of his close friends are in Yangzhou City. Let's move to Mingyue sector, replied Luo Feng. The 2nd floor of the villa was empty. It wasn't any smaller than Yangzhou's Jian region's Dojo of Limits training hall. Chief, Jiang Yan respectfully yelled as he entered the 2nd floor. Luo Feng was slightly surprised. Instructor Jiang Yan has never been this respectful to Yangzhou's chief instructor, Wu Tong, or anyone else. Jiang Yan, this young man must be Luo Feng, a gentle voice rang. Yes, Chief, Jiang Yan respectfully replied. Luo Feng looked carefully. There were 5 people standing next to the white-haired Uncle Bai. 4 of them were wearing white suits. At this time, these 4 men and women wearing white suits were respectfully standing behind a middle-aged man wearing a black tang suit. This middle-aged man was skinny and had a hooked nose. His eyes carried a gentle smile, and his entire body gave off a feminine feeling. Jiang Yan immediately signaled Luo Feng with his eyes. Luo Feng was startled and said, Greetings, Chief. Okay. The middle-aged man wearing the tang suit slightly nodded and said, Old Bai, you guys can begin. Check this young man's strength. Yes, Uncle Bai respectfully replied. Luo Feng muttered to himself, even Instructor Jiang Yan isn't this respectful when he sees Chief Instructor, Wu Tong. This Uncle Bai seems to have quite a high position in the Dojo of Limits. However, he's so respectful in front of this chief. Just what is this chief's identity? No matter what, this chief is clearly someone with a lot of power. Beep. The fish strength tester and speed tester were all switched on. Whoa. The cameras and other equipment in the second floor's training hall were all switched on. Clearly they were going to record Luo Feng's test. The 4 young men and women in white suits also started to move. They either held the PDA in their hands or personally checked the accuracy of the equipment. Uncle Bai, there's no problem with the equipment, said the young woman in the white suit. Okay, Uncle Bai looked towards Luo Feng. Luo Feng, start the test. Fish strength first. Luo Feng took in a deep breath and walked towards the fish strength tester. At this time, whether it was Jiang-Nan, Uncle Bai, or the 4 young men in white suits, or the high and mighty chief, their gazes all landed on Luo Feng. Luo Feng, who was originally relaxed, instantly exploded and pounced forward like a cheetah. Peng! A heavy punch, accompanied by the sound of an explosion, smashed onto the fish strength testing machine. Luo Feng immediately looked at the display, 3,110 kilograms. Young man, not bad. The Lord Supervisor, who had always been calm, smiled and nodded. Continue to the next item. The speed test and reaction test came out quickly. Speed test result, 58 milliseconds. Reaction test, beginner warrior full marks, intermediate warrior excellent. Phew. Luo Feng walked out of the red circle of the reaction speed tester machine. Seeing that his results were normal, he let out a sigh of relief. Not bad, I didn't screw up at the crucial moment. Instructor Jiang Yan, who was beside Luo Feng, also relaxed. After all, when some people are in a critical situation, their mental pressure is too great and it's easy for them to not be able to display their full strength. His reflexes are better than the other 2. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit nodded with a smile. The age is also 18, which is within the restricted range. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit looked towards Jiang Yan and smiled. Your Xian region produced such a genius. Jiang Yan, you've done a great job. Jiang Yan couldn't help but to let out a happy expression and smiled. It's all because Luo Feng worked hard enough. Okay. The middle-aged man's gaze landed on Luo Feng and said seriously, Luo Feng, are you willing to join the Dojo of Limits? I'm sure Jiang Yan has already told you the conditions. I'm willing to join. Luo Feng didn't hesitate. Very good. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit smiled and clapped. According to the old rules, you can choose a villa in Yangzhou City or the main sector headquarters. You have the right to live there, but you don't have the right to sell it. Our Dojo of Limits villa sector will definitely be where the fighters of the dojo live. Other than that, there's 20 million in funds. There's also the agility, Daoyin, and attack instruction manuals that don't exceed 50 million. The middle-aged man smiled. Am I right? Yes, Luo Feng nodded. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit looked towards a woman in a white suit beside him. Go and draft a contract. According to the old rules? Just change one of the terms. Luo Feng can choose any agility, Daoyin, or attack instruction manuals. As long as the price is within 100 million, it's free. I'll pay for it. Yes, Chief. The woman in the white suit looked at Luo Feng in shock. She didn't dare to say anything else and immediately went to print the contract. Chief. Luo Feng was shocked. The benefit from before was that the 3 instruction manuals don't exceed 50 million. Now it's suddenly increased to 100 million, and this chief is paying for it. Luo Feng, you're not bad. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit slightly smiled. I have high hopes for you, so don't mind this small amount of money. Small amount of money? Luo Feng was shocked. 50 million to 100 million. In other words, this chief has to spend tens of millions for him, and it's small amount of money? Even a warlord-level fighter wouldn't be this extravagant. Thank you, Chief. Luo Feng also thanked. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit slightly smiled. After that, the printed contract was brought over. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit casually took the contract and pen and swiftly signed it. The young woman in the white suit then handed the contract and pen to Luo Feng. Here, here, and here. Just sign here. Luo Feng slightly scanned the contract. The conditions of the contract were extremely clear. The terms were clearly written, and there weren't any headache-inducing jargon at all. Luo Feng immediately signed it. Welcome, Luo Feng. Join the Dojo of Limits family. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit smiled as he extended his hand. Luo Feng also extended his hand and shook the chief's hand. From today onwards, you can directly move into the fighter's villa sector. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit smiled. As for your starting capital and instruction manuals, you'll have the authority of a fighter after you officially become a fighter. Only then will you have the right to enter the Dojo of Limits internal network and purchase instruction manuals. The starting capital will also be transferred to your fighter account. Luo Feng nodded. Alright, my name is Zhu Ge Tao. Don't forget, young man. The middle-aged man in the traditional Chinese suit smiled as he brought the 4 young men and women in white suits out of the villa. The second floor of the villa was completely empty. Only Uncle Bai, Jiang Yan, and Luo Feng were left. Phew, the chief was here just now. Even my breathing was a bit nervous, laughed Jiang Yan. I didn't think that the chief would come either, said Uncle Bai. Luo Feng was confused. Instructor, Uncle Bai. Just who is this chief? Haha, young man, you're quite lucky. The chief saw that you have potential, so he casually increased the limit of your instruction manuals by 50 million, reaching 100 million. Uncle Bai looked at Luo Feng and sighed, and what surprised me the most was that the chief actually told you his name. Looks like the chief has high hopes for you. Name? Luo Feng didn't even realize what it meant for a chief to tell someone his name. After hearing the name Zhu Ge Tao, Luo Feng wasn't shocked at all. He just sighed in his heart. The surname Zhu Gu is quite rare. Luo Feng, in our words, the chief is one of the 4 giants of our Jiang-Nan Dojo of Limits, smiled Jiang-Yan. For giants. Luo Feng froze. Uncle Bai glared at Jiang-Yan and said in a low voice, "These are all private discussions." In the Jiang-Nan Limit Dojo headquarters, the highest position was the president, followed by the 3 managers. The president and the 3 chiefs were what many martial artists secretly called the 4 great heavyweights. Every one of them had extremely high authority. If you want to be a manager, you must first have the strength of a high-level warlord. At the same time, you must contribute a lot to the dojo and have the support of a sufficient number of Wargod-level fighters. Oh. Luo Feng was shocked. There were 3 requirements to become a supervisor? Strength, contribution points, and the support of a Wargod? Luo Feng to the chief supervisor Luo Feng. That afternoon, instructor Jiang Yan dragged Luo Feng to the headquarters for a lively meal with some fighters. Only until the evening did Luo Feng rush back to his home in Yangzhou City. In the evening, the streetlights in the southern coast sector were already lit up. 3 sweaty, middle-aged men were talking and laughing as they walked in the sector. Just by getting close, one could smell the smell of wood and paint on their bodies. My waist really hurts. I guess I can only sleep on my stomach tonight. When I go to the hospital, it's probably time to go to the hospital. One of the middle-aged men, who had a burly physique, held his waist with one hand and said helplessly, "And my prostate is also hurting. I should go to the hospital sometime. Damn it, this hospital just spends a lot of money." "Old Tian, why don't you rest for 2 days and tell the boss? You can start work after you feel better," said Luo Feng's father Luo Honghua. "Yeah, old Tian, it's not worth it to tire your body out," said the slightly fatter man on the side. "Yeah, I know what to do. All right, I'm going home." As he said that, the burly middle-aged man turned and headed towards a tube-shaped apartment. The slightly fatter man and Luo Honghua sighed for a bit and then headed towards another tube-shaped apartment. Luo Honghua slowly walked towards his home under the dim light of the streetlights. 32nd floor. Luo Honghua stood on the first floor and raised his head to look at the stairs. For people nowadays, climbing the 32nd floor was indeed a very easy thing to do, but Luo Honghua, who had been working hard for the whole day, felt tired even if he walked more. "My neck and waist are a little sore. I should find some time to rest." Luo Honghua walked step by step until he reached the 32nd floor. Ding dong. Ding dong. Luo Honghua stood in front of his house and pressed the doorbell. He was too lazy to even take out his keys. Ka. The door opened and he saw a table full of food. There were more than 10 dishes on the table. Even during the new year, his house wouldn't be this extravagant. What's wrong, all this good food? Even though Luo Honghua wasn't happy, he still smiled as he entered the house. Dang 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 dang. Luo Hua, who was sitting in his wheelchair, yelled loudly, "Dad, welcome home." "Dad." Luo Feng, who was standing on the side, obediently brought a cup of tea to his father and said, "From today onwards, Dad, you don't need to wear this uniform anymore." Huh. Luo Honghua was stunned. Old Luo. Gong Xen Lan, who was holding a bowl of rice, smiled as she looked at Luo Honghua. "Your son just signed a contract with the Dojo of Limits. Once your son passes the fighter combat exam, he'll get 20 million. Furthermore, he was given a detached villa. He even brought back the villa key." "What?" Luo Honghua was stunned. "Xinlan, what did you say?" "Dad, look." Luo Feng handed the signed contract to Luo Honghua. Luo Honghua took it and read it carefully. From the first line to the last line, Luo Honghua didn't dare to miss a single word. It was just like how he read his marriage certificate over and over again in the past. Now he was reading his son's contract over and over again. The terms of the contract were very clear. This. Isn't the contract with the dojo supposed to be signed after the fighter combat exam? Luo Honghua couldn't believe it. And why is there 20 million? After Luo Feng passed the prospective fighter exam, Luo Honghua also asked about it. When a fighter joins the dojo, they only have 1 million in starting capital. "Dad, this is because brother is a talent." Luo Hua laughed weirdly. "What's the most valuable thing in this day and age? A talent within a fighter is the most valuable. We can live in this villa now?" Luo Honghua looked towards his son Luo Feng. His wife, Gong Xen Lan, laughed on the side. "If you want to live here, you can live here now." Ha ha ha. Luo Honghua couldn't control himself at all. Tears started to form in his eyes. After all these years he worked so hard for this family. However, with his hard work he wouldn't have a chance to make a comeback in his entire life. And now he can finally make a comeback. And he'll be able to live in the legendary detached villa. Indeed, a detached villa is a legendary existence to normal people. After the Grand Nirvana period, a headquarter city has to support 200 million people. Every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. Because a detached villa takes up too much space, you can't buy one even if you have the money. Even those rare detached villas that people with money and power have to pay a huge tax to live in. I, Luo Honghua, can finally live in a detached villa one day. Luo Honghua couldn't help but to laugh. Haha, that dog boss doesn't even live as well as me. Yup, Luo Hua, who was in the wheelchair, also said excitedly, "In the future, our house will have huge floor-to-ceiling windows, a huge bathtub, and an extremely large living room. In the future, our TV and laptops will all be voice-activated. The living room TV screen will be at least 200 inches. A bed can also be rolled around on." "I've always wanted to roll around on a bed," Luo Hua said excitedly. Seeing his dad and brother's expressions, Luo Feng was extremely happy. What did he work so hard for? Wasn't it all for this day? Dad, Mom, sit down and eat. Luo Feng laughed. I'm going to take a shower. Luo Hongguo laughed loudly. In the future, I won't have to wear this uniform anymore. I'll call the boss later and fire him. That night, Luo Feng's family was completely immersed in excitement and happiness like never before. This house was only 36 square meters, but it allowed the family of four to live in it for so many years. Even though there were many dissatisfactions towards this house, like how his parents could only sleep on the sofa and not get much sunlight in a year. The bathroom was pitifully small. There was too much bitterness. However, when it was time to leave, Luo Feng's family was still a bit reluctant. This place held too many memories for them. However, people always strive for higher things. Early the next morning, a large truck stopped downstairs. Luo Feng's family started to move things onto the truck. Old Luo, what's going on? How are we moving things? Lan sis, what are you doing so early in the morning? Many familiar friends and neighbors in the same sector curiously asked Luo Hongguo and Gong Xen Lan as they walked past. Haha, my son Feng joined the Dojo of Limits and moved to the Mingyue sector. Luo Hongguo replied confidently, Wang San, when my family holds a banquet, you have to come. These people who have lived in these cheap rentals for so many years, which one of them didn't hope for a day where they could make a comeback? Luo Hongguo made a comeback. He relied on his son. Old Luo's son sure is amazing. He actually joined the Dojo of Limits. Yeah, if my son can be this amazing one day, even if I die of exhaustion, I'll die of laughter. Old Luo has made a comeback. He's so lucky. The surrounding neighbors spread the news to 10 and 10 to 100. Soon, the entire southern shore sector, and even the surrounding cheap rentals, all knew that Luo Hongguo's son joined the Dojo of Limits and his family moved to the Mingyue sector. This was an incredible joyous occasion, and it also made many youngsters from ordinary families yearn to be able to help their families one day. When you want to find me, go directly to the Mingyue sector. But before you go, give me a call and I'll notify the sector gate, Luo Feng said to his friend Wei Wen. Okay, Wei Wen excitedly hammered Luo Feng's chest. I knew it, Luo Feng, you'd make a comeback one day. So what if you failed your exams? Even if you graduate from a university or military academy, can 1 out of 10,000 of them live in a villa? Fuck, in a few days I'll definitely go visit your house. I've never been to a villa in my life. Soon. Under the gaze of the surrounding women, children, and men, Luo Feng's family rode in a car. Behind them was a large truck filled with items that they couldn't bear to throw away. Luo Feng's family left the southern shore sector and entered the fighter sector, Mingyue sector. In the morning, at the main entrance of the Mingyue sector, 6 soldiers with real guns stood on both sides of the gate as they scanned the surroundings. Stop. One of the soldiers immediately raised the assault rifle in his hand and aimed it at the approaching taxi. Chi! The taxi immediately slammed on the brakes. Luo Feng's family got out of the taxi, and an old man with white hair walked out of the guard's office in Mingyue sector. He laughed. Luo Feng, right? Last time when I saw you take the prospective fighter exam, I knew that you had a bright future. I didn't think that you'd live in our sector so quickly. The notice came to me yesterday. Hurry, someone come help move the stuff. Luo Feng, we have people helping to move the stuff. These moving companies aren't allowed to enter, laughed the old man with white hair. We understand, smiled Luo Hongguo as he nodded. Soon, 7 or 8 soldiers ran out of the sector and quickly helped move the stuff. After that, under the envious gazes of the people from the moving company, Luo Feng's family entered the Mingyue sector. Mingyue sector. Luo Feng looked at the limit hall in the center, and then looked at the little bridges, the fake mountains and the ponds as well as the villas that were surrounded by the little bridges. From today onwards, my home will be here. Luo Feng turned his head towards his parents and his brother on the wheelchair. At this time, his parents and brother were looking at this sector with excitement. Mr. Luo Feng, your house is the one in front. As the soldiers moved the stuff, a young woman smiled as she held a document in her hand. Mr. Luo Feng, number 199 in front is your home. This villa has a total of 3 floors. There's a basement, and the 3rd floor also has a gigantic balcony. The total area is 512 square meters. If you include the basement, the courtyard, and the gigantic balcony, etc., it's around 800 square meters. Luo Feng's family looked at each other. They then carefully raised their heads and looked at the luxurious red and white villa in front of them. This will be their home from now on. 36 square meters? Around 800 square meters? Luo Hua, who was on the wheelchair, couldn't help but to mumble. July 31st, late at night, Mingyue sector, Villa 199. The 2nd floor of this villa had a total of 4 large rooms. A bedroom, a video room, a guest room, and a large training hall. This training hall was 120 square meters, which took up almost half of the entire 2nd floor. Late at night, the light from the street lamps in the sector passed through the glass of the video room and into the training hall on the 2nd floor. Luo Feng, who was wearing a loose training uniform, sat cross-legged on the floor. 2 rays of light continuously circled Luo Feng's body as they swiftly moved. After that, they flew around the training hall like happy birds. Sometimes they flew, sometimes they swooped, and sometimes they turned around. They were extremely nimble and quick. After a while, the 2 rays of light slowed down and floated in front of Luo Feng. They were 2 throwing knives. My current telekinesis ability can only allow me to multitask. If I control 4 or 5 throwing knives, their speed, power, etc. will all decrease. In the past month, other than training his body's strength, Luo Feng put most of his energy into his spiritual force. In the past month, Luo Feng lived in Mingyue sector and got to know many fighters. After talking with them, Luo Feng confirmed one thing: his spiritual force is indeed spiritual force. Tomorrow is the fighter combat exam, so I'll rest well tonight. Luo Feng got up and opened the glass door. He entered his bedroom to rest and sleep. August 1st morning, under the lead of a fighter from the Limit Hall, 30 prospective fighters, including Luo Feng and Yang Wu, rushed to the train station. Kuchi, kuchi, the sound of the fast-moving train rubbing against each other was very weak, but the inside of the train was noisy. The train was completely enclosed, so there was no glass to see the outside world. At this moment, a figure appeared on the large screen in every carriage. In the carriage, a large amount of prospective fighters sat. Prospective fighters of the future, I come from the HR Alliance. A middle-aged man was speaking on the large screen in the carriage. I believe that everyone has heard of the HR Alliance. The world's most powerful organization, the richest organization, and the organization with the most martial artists. Everyone must be familiar with our HR Alliance's other name, Underground Alliance. The prospective fighters in the carriage gradually quietened down. Luo Feng and Yang Wu sat side by side looking up at the large screen. Madman, you know about the Underground Alliance, right? Yang Wu chuckled. That's a tycoon. The richest organization in the world is even richer than a national government. I know. Luo Feng laughed. After living in Mingyue sector for almost a month, he learned a lot of basic information from the fighters in the sector. Before the Grand Nirvana period, countries like America and Europe all had some powerful families controlling some political parties behind them. These families, such as the Morgan family, the Rockefeller family, the Onassis family, and so on, these families controlled more than half of the world's wealth. However, with the arrival of the Grand Nirvana period, under the attacks of the monsters, many small countries were annihilated. The large countries were also unable to fend for themselves, and the control of the government with an army was unprecedentedly strong. At this time, some of the ancient and powerful families in the world were worried that they would be suppressed by the government. So they joined hands and formed the HR Alliance, which is also known as the Human Rights Alliance. The Human Rights Alliance sounded nice. In fact, it was an alliance to consolidate the strength of these super families. The martial artists called it the Underground Alliance. Our alliance is the world's largest martial artist exchange platform. Here you can accept missions with huge rewards. Our alliance has a huge influence in every part of the world. Join our alliance and become a part of us. Even in America, Europe, and other areas, you will be able to enjoy the highest level of service. Our alliance has a powerful military and political power. Join us. On the screen in the carriage, the middle-aged man spoke for a full 15 minutes. All future martial artists. On the screen in the carriage, it changed to another man with a serious expression. Let me introduce myself. I am the Vice Director of Jiang-Nan Headquarters City Security Department. My surname is Lu. In China, the government's military power is, without a doubt, the strongest. Join the government's military. No matter where you are in China, you will receive the best support. Everyone. After a while, the screen in the carriage changed to another person. I am Jiangnan Headquarters City's Thunder and Lightning Dojo's manager. My surname is Wang. Our Thunder and Lightning Dojo was established by the world's fastest invincible fighter, Thunder God. In the entire world, there are branches of our Thunder and Lightning Dojo. Dear future fighters, the previous 3 have already introduced themselves. Needless to say, everyone knows that I'm from the Dojo of Limits. The screen in the carriage changed to another person. My surname is Zhu Ge, Dojo of Limits. This is the world's largest dojo, the dojo established by the world's strongest fighter. Our dojo has the strongest power in the world. A total of 4 people's announcements caused the prospective fighters in the carriage to discuss animatedly. Second brother, after you become a fighter, which side do you plan on joining? I feel like the Dojo of Limits isn't bad. Join the Underground Alliance and earn the most money, haha. The Thunder and Lightning Dojo's benefits for fighters are better than the Dojo of Limits. Joining the Thunder and Lightning Dojo isn't bad either. The excited discussions of the prospective martial artists could be heard everywhere in the carriage. Luo Feng and Yang Wu also discussed quietly. Crazy, my instructor and past seniors all joined the Dojo of Limits. Now even you joined the Dojo of Limits. Of course I'm the same. Even if I join the Dojo of Limits, I can still accept missions from the Underground Alliance. As for buying and selling, you can do it in the Dojo of Limits or in the Underground Alliance. Dojo of Limits, Thunder and Lightning Dojo, Underground Alliance, Government and Military. Luo Feng was clear. In the country, the government and military are the strongest. Next is the Underground Alliance, an alliance formed by all the super families in the world. Even the governments of each country don't dare to offend them. After all, the Underground Alliance controls the economy of the entire world. The Thunder and Lightning Dojo and Dojo of Limits are the weakest. However, joining these 2 great dojos also means freedom. Brother Yang, look at this train. Just how many prospective fighters are there? Luo Feng looked around. Just one carriage alone had over 100 people. A lot of people. Yang Wu twitched his lips. Yang Wu curled his lips. Just now, I heard people talking about how there are 2 martial artist combat assessments every year. Over 1,000 potential martial artists from the entire Jiangnan base city participate in each martial artist combat assessment. Over 1,000 people? Luo Feng was shocked. But that's right. The entire Jiangnan city has a population of 200 million and the entire Yangzhou city has a population of 10 million. After a while. Prospective fighters, the train is about to enter the station. Prospective fighters, please prepare to disembark. A sound came from the speakers in the carriages. The train gradually slowed down until it stopped. HUA, the doors opened and the prospective fighters in the carriages all disembarked. Soon enough, the vast crowd of prospective fighters entered the large military camp. The military camp took up a huge amount of space, especially around the outskirts of the camp. Large amounts of heavy weapons could be seen everywhere. All of the cannons were pointed outside the camp. A large amount of soldiers were holding all sorts of excellent weapons. Luo Feng and the group of prospective fighters all looked around. Look outside the military camp, Yang Wu excitedly pointed into the distance. Luo Feng looked carefully and saw that outside the military camp's warning line, there were some starving monsters letting out roars. However, these monsters didn't dare to approach the military camp. Jie. With an ear-piercing sound, the prospective fighters all raised their heads at the same time. In the blue sky, hundreds of flying monsters instantly flew past. The book said that after leaving the headquarters city, you can see all sorts of monsters. The book was right. Luo Feng's eyes lit up. Humans can only live in the headquarters city. Or gather in the military camp. If you want to explore these places alone and fight against these powerful monsters, only a fighter can do it. Everyone. A loud voice entered the ears of every prospective fighter. Welcome everyone to Jiangnan City's northern military region. This time, the fighter combat exam for 1680 of you will be held in the northern military region. I hope that most of you can pass the exam, and I hope that all of you can survive this combat exam. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.